America needs XRP. Now, I know this wasn't mentioned at the debate last night, but something that I do think should be considered is some sound money. I titled this episode, America Needs XRP, because we need to talk about what's taking place here in this country and what the potential solutions could be for the main problems that we face, which is our economy, the soaring debt, deficit, the unsustainable path that we're heading down, and the fall of our American empire and way of life as we know it. What is the answer? What are potential solutions? Well, in my opinion, it's sound money. And we need a sound money movement, just like I talked about last week with Lynette Zhang. And I do believe that XRP is going to be one of the most liquid forms of sound money in existence when you compare it to gold, when you compare it to silver, when you look at other forms of real money, right? We know that gold and silver both have track record. They both have great utility and reasons why folks treat them as a store of value. But then when you look across here, what else do we have? I think that we need to consider XRP. I think it's going to be one of the most liquid forms of a reserve currency, of a store of value, and of sound money in existence. So more on that later. I'm going to show you guys that if we don't figure out something, whether it's XRP, whether it's gold, whether it's both of those, and or something else, we better figure out something quickly, because I'm going to show you guys SWIFT, the UK, everybody else is moving without us. And so it's time for us to get on board. Let's get started right away here by pointing out here what just took place last night, which was an absolute disgrace. And I think that the biggest loser, besides the American people, of this debate would be ABC and their horrific moderation of this debate. ABC didn't ask a single question about the soaring national debt, the rising cost of servicing that debt, out of control entitlement spending, high inflation, rising unemployment, record high consumer debt, record low savings, or the explosion of moonlighting. But of course, our White House touts, folks getting their second and third jobs as a strong economy, right? Having 2 and 3 jobs to afford the basics for your family, that's a sign of a strong economy, according to this White House. Now, I'm not going to get into the debate too much. Once again, my point being, America needs sound money. We need to address real issues. None of that was discussed last night. And even if Trump is elected, or Kamala, sorry, I shouldn't mispronounce her name. I'm trying to correct myself now. Kamala, even if Kamala is elected, we are going to see exploding deficits, exploding trade deficit, and inflation's going to be coming back. And so no matter who gets elected, we need to make sure that we have a plan in place. We need to make sure that we're stacking sound money, make sure that our businesses are going to be insulated against the recession. And we also need to prepare for whatever sort of chaos they're going to be sending our way between now and that transition of power. Now, what we did get here today, and this is the economic data that we're talking about that wasn't mentioned at all last night. This would be the CPI report coming out here for August. Higher core inflation might limit Fed rate cut. And this is 2 different data points right here. Headline CPI and core. Now, the core inflation gauge is the one that they're trying to get down to that 2% target. Well, it actually came in higher than expectations. It rose by 0.3%. The CPI, the headline number, rose by 0.2. Core rose by 0.3. This brings overall inflation to 2.5% year over year. And this is the lowest reading since March of 2021. And the core stays at 3.2% year over year. So if I slide on over here to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you can see the CPI data coming in here in August at 2.5. July, it was 2.9. But that 2.5 reading that we just got this past month is the lowest reading, taking us all the way back here to March 2021 was the last time we were at 2.6% inflation. But remember, the core is what they're trying to get down to 2, and it's still at 3.2%. And core is the one where they strip out food and energy. So they strip out food and energy, which, why are we talking about an inflation gauge? Why are we talking about anything if we're not including food and energy? But okay, we take that and we run with that data point, and it's higher than the headline CPI. So when we hone in on these details right here, you see car insurance inflation at 16.5%, transportation 7.9%, hospital services 5.8%, homeowner inflation 5.4%, rent inflation 5%, car repair inflation 4.1%, food away from home 4%, and electricity at 3.9%. While the rate of inflation is at a 3-year low, prices are still rising, And many of these data points here are way above 2 or 3%. More than half of Americans currently believe that we are in a recession. That's from the Kobesi letter. I'm here to say that we already are in a jobs recession. I believe that our growth is also depressed. And I believe that we might as well consider it a recession, a period of depressed growth, when we take a look and we compare it to, previous times, right? Previous cycles of inflation, previous periods of depressed growth. Everything's taken us back to that great financial crisis or worse. Now, don't take it from me. Take it from the own words, a speech that was given yesterday here by Gary Gensler. His internal comments for his speech were accidentally posted publicly by the SEC. I'm not making this up, folks. This is shared here by Caitlin Long. Look at Gensler's internal comments that the SEC mistakenly posted publicly. I strongly recommend that a sentence be placed here or somewhere in the first part of the speech to reassure markets that you are not making the speech because you think there is an imminent crisis. So, we can assume that there is an imminent crisis, but we don't want anybody to panic. This is the internal comments between the SEC and Chair Gensler. Now, trust me, I wish that was the end of it, but it gets worse. What I'm about to show you here next is a post here put out here by Hester Pierce, Commissioner Pierce, in her dissent of a decision and a penalty issued towards Keurig. Now, you're going to see the comparison here between what's taking place in the United States with our SEC versus what's taking place across the pond with the UK passing cryptocurrency legislation, or at least introducing a bill to pass cryptocurrency legislation treating it as property. Meanwhile, what's our SEC up to? They're issuing a fine here against Keurig because although their K-pods could effectively be recycled, in most instances they weren't, and this was misleading in their public forms and disclosures that they were supposed to be filing. That's right, folks. This is truly unbelievable and embarrassing. So Hester Pierce lays out the example right here. Is a car company's claim proven by company speed tests that its top-of-the-line sports car can go from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds misleading if the company knows that its more conservative drivers do not press the pedal to the metal? So essentially, is it misleading to state that the car can do 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds because you know that most people are not going to put the pedal to the metal? Because that's exactly what this case is. Keurig made their pods recyclable. You could recycle them. Many people were, but most people weren't. And many of the recycling companies that they spoke with in internal testing and I guess studies that were conducted, they were not that easy to be recycled. And so the SEC has decided to fine them. And let me pull up the fine here. What is this fine amount? $1.5 million penalty is being issued towards Keurig. We used to have the gold standard of capital markets, and now we're issuing a penalty towards Keurig because their statement was misleading, saying that it could effectively be recycled, but in most instances it wouldn't be. I mean, like Hester Pierce stated, this is like saying it's misleading of saying the car can do 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds just because you know that 90% of drivers aren't going to put the pedal to the metal. What are we talking about here? This is where we're at in the United States. Our SEC is issuing fines and penalties against Keurig because their K-cups are not as easily recyclable as they should be, or as they stated they were. And in our presidential debate, we don't mention the economy, we don't mention debt, deficits, inflation, or anything to do with our real economy. None of that gets mentioned. And our SEC's serving up fines to Keurig. That's why the American people are the biggest losers of last night's debate and what's taking place. And many are not going to get on the right side of the greatest transfer of wealth in world history, right? Because we are so distracted, we are missing the point, we have lost the plot, and we have lost control of our country, right? What comes out? What's about to sway this next, this November situation? T. Swifty coming out and supporting Kamala, right? That's where we're at. That's where we're at. The talk of the town today is T. Swifty, who she supports for president. SEC serving up fines to Keurig. That's where we're at. Now, when you look across the pond at where we could be, what the potential could be, The UK introduces a new crypto property law. Bitcoin and digital assets can now be legally recognized as personal property in the UK under the new Property, Digital Assets, etc. bill. Of course, the Bitcoin bros are already sharing it. I've already seen Bitcoin Magazine and other Bitcoin Maxi outlets saying that this, UK introduces new law to make Bitcoin treated as property. Okay, well, Bitcoin bros, it's not just Bitcoin. It's all digital assets, but we wouldn't expect anything less from you guys. This law boosts legal protection for crypto owners, aiming to keep UK law at the forefront of global tech. Their Justice Minister, Heidi Alexander, says, quote, "Our world-leading legal services form a vital part of our economy, helping to drive forward growth and keep Britain at the heart of the international legal industry. It is essential that the law keeps pace with evolving technologies, and this legislation will mean that the sector can maintain its position as a global leader in crypto assets that bring clarity to complex property cases." So that's where we're at. Now, what's interesting here in the United States is that crypto is essentially taxed as property, but we're still waiting for broader legislation to get passed for stablecoins and for, hopefully some definitions on what these assets are. Are they a security? Are they a commodity? Are we going to come up with a new definition? That's really what we're waiting for. But in the meantime, all of our allies, all of our enemies, so you look at BRICS, everybody else is getting together and they're plowing forward into establishing a new financial system, frameworks, regulatory frameworks for digital assets. And you look at just what Ripple announced in Asia last week, right? In jurisdictions where they have compliance, where they have regulations, Ripple's partnering up with some of the biggest banks in these regions to issue stable coins, to tokenize real-world assets, and to drive development. They've launched a new Asia fund for Korea, Japan, and other countries in the region, while APAC continues to grow and be a region where on-demand liquidity has rapidly been expanding, and that's use of XRP. Now, we continue to see here, this is Swift now hitting the headlines today. We're paving the way towards real-world solutions that will enable our members to transact interchangeably with regulated digital assets and currencies on the Swift network. Keyword being regulated digital assets. Does that mean XRP? Now, I see it's funny because this post comes out from Swift. Swift doesn't want to get left behind. They're getting on board the train. But I see the XRP community takes this and, it runs with it. Oh, this means XRP for sure. You literally got folks posting the riddle pictures with this. They're retweeting this, posting riddle pictures as if this is confirmation of XRP being used and XRP being the one. I think XRP is going to be used. I think that XRP is going to be the one, but let's not make a stretch here, right? In the same form and fashion, though, I see Chainlink coming out and saying, oh, this is confirmation that they're only using Chainlink and XRP bros don't get it. They've ditched the potential for using XRP a long time ago. They've chosen Chainlink, and Chainlink's the chosen one. Well, I'm pretty sure the direct quote is regulated digital assets and currencies. That's it. Pretty broad, pretty general. But what does meet that definition? And what are real solutions? Let's get down to it. What will actually solve some problems? And as I've been saying for a long time, I hope and pray that our treasury has done a deal with Ripple to acquire some XRP. I believe that what we need is sound money. We need to rein back in our deficit and our debt. We need to stop trying to be the military police of the world. We need to stop all of the entitlement spending and programs. The promises that we've made, some of them we aren't going to be able to keep. And that's just the fact. And we have to get down to that. And is it going to be pretty? No, it's going to be ugly. But we need to rip the Band-Aid off. We need to reset, restructure, and let a revaluation take place through free market capitalism and price discovery through healthy, open, and transparent markets, not through the gold standard of corruption and fraud, which is what's taking place at the SEC right now. Oh, gee, thank you, Gary Gensler, for protecting investors and issuing a penalty to Keurig because their K-pods are not as recyclable as they stated. This is where we're at. Now, if you're interested to learn more about Gensler and his role of propping things up with Janet No-Tell Yellen and the Fed, well, tune in tonight because here shortly at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, my interview that I just conducted with Marcel Kalinovic, the Butcher of Wall Street. I've had him on the show one time already. He's coming back. And in this conversation, we discuss Gary Gensler's role as the SEC and what they've allowed to happen within our capital markets that's kept everything propped up. Most people are looking at the backstop that the Treasury and the FDIC has provided, along with the Fed. A lot of people overlooking Gary Gensler and the SEC's role in allowing all the corruption of our capital markets to keep things propped up as well. So I talked about this with Marcel, along with the rest of the macroeconomic conversation that we had, one that you guys won't want to miss. Once again, that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our content. And if you guys appreciate our updates, please make sure you like this video and let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that we need XRP? I think that we need some XRP, some gold, and some sound money to help save the day. And get the hell out of the way of entrepreneurs and capitalists that want to bring value to our people. That's what we need. You guys let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.